Hey, Glines, my automator. Another episode of what we automated with AutoHotkey. Let me use Prompt Assistant here to kick off my files. So this is going to run through a bunch of stuff. I'm launching it. First off, there's my webcam reminder, which apparently I got to move to where my webcam is. Again, that just helps me to understand what you can or cannot see, because it's very easy to forget that there's a webcam in front of your stuff. So it ran the recently modified files, turned on Do Not Disturb, added a tracker for all of the URLs that get mentioned in this video, so I don't have to keep track of them myself. So we're just monitoring the clipboard on that one, which is really cool. That's that URL memory, the one that's right there. Let's see here. So AJ, I can't wait to get back to you. Isaiah said we finished updating the second keyboard. We did have to use a DLL call. But for him, that won't matter too much, but we'll make this script available for everybody. So you can easily plug in a secondary keyboard and have different hotkeys for that as to yours. And so your 10 key, let's say you have a 10 key on your normal keyboard, you can have a separate 10 key and it will know which one is which, right? And you can map those hotkeys to do other things. So very cool script. He also has some custom stuff that we've done for him. That's that AutoHotkey interception here, though, is what we've worked on that. So we'll, a lot of the client stuff. I was trying to create an equalizer using AutoHotkey, and it said it would do it using AI, but it never, I didn't notice a difference in sound, unfortunately. So, and then it said, oh, here's one you can just download that's free, and then you can manipulate it, and I didn't care that much, but I thought it was worth a try. This long press during a client call, AutoHotkey hero call, we started looking at this script. I built this on my own, and then we put it into our S drive, and then Irfan rewrote it. But during the hero call, as Zayas pointed out, some flaws with it, and so during the call, we spent a long time on it. We have a video extraction of it, but we worked on it. And what I wanted to be able to do was very easily. Let's say I have like Control-Shift-T to title case my words, but if I long press Control-Shift-T, it will do something else. And so we were building a function that would make that really easy to do, because right now it's not super easy to do. And then also, not only that, but have the ability to have a context window, like a window active or an exe that's running or something for your for the hotkey, for the context sensitivity stuff. So we're working on that. We did work on some stuff for our client here with his hot strings for him and just updating them. And then we had a really interesting call during the hero call because the client was talking about how sometimes he has hot strings, but sometimes he wants the text to be uppercased and sometimes lowercased or sometimes title cased. And he was thinking about having different hot strings so it would push him in the way he wants. I'm like, that's a lot of memorization. And you could have a pattern to make it easier, like end it in the up, a U for up, and a T for title, and an L for lower. But what we also realized during the hero call was like, hey, you could have it where I have a foot pedal or I have a hotkey that's actually depressed, and when I type my trigger, it would adjust your hot string for that. And so we walked through that during the hero call. It was an interesting idea. We've been making some big updates. This one should be, I think it's... if not available yet, it'll be available soon. This AutoHotkey script maker, we've been making a lot of updates on that. It's come along nicely. There's some bugs, again, that we worked through during the hero call that we found. Thankfully, Connie was doing some testing, and I didn't see it. The error, I wasn't aware of it, but the recently, let me go ahead and launch the tool here. It's kind of a funny thing of what it was doing in the issue. So here's our editor. Let me make sure that's nothing. Yeah, that's fine. And here... this is your 10 most recent files, and then under more, you can go and we can actually do a search. So I can type in here and it will filter, and I can also turn on fuzzy match, which is cool. And I can look for more like GPKX. Oh, I would have thought that, well, it is a fuzzy match. It's not, going to match everything, but I was looking at these letters here. And then you can select it. Well, and you can cleanly invalid stuff. But back into here, what was funny was from this list, which Irfan had built slightly differently, and it was very complicated, and Isaiah proposed a simpler approach to it. But when you would select a file, it wouldn't pick the right file necessarily. And often it wasn't just one off either. It was kind of appeared random almost with how bad it was. When I started doing it, I'm like, wow, that is terrible. But we worked through what the issue was, and that'll be, we're publishing videos every day, but it'll still, we got, each week we get like a week's worth of hero calls out of a hero calls, we get a week's worth of videos. So it takes a while for our stuff to get published just because we have so much in the queue, right? But that'll be one where we walk through how you can manipulate menus, how you can delete from them, how Isaias was talking through the resorting and just storing them in the right order in the first place, because we want the most recent one first and go to the other ones later. Here's longer, and then if you want to go for even longer, you can search here. But I love, usually when I'm working with something and I want to reopen it, it's in the last 10. I don't want to have to go here to File, to like in VS Code and Cursor and Studio. You would have to go to File and then go to this other menu and find it and then go select. And I'm like, I want it right here, so I can click it right away. So here's your top 10. I'm going to have to ask Irfan if we could increase this number. I don't know if that's an artificial thing. I don't think, initially I thought it was, because I've seen so many programs where they tie it to 10 or 9 actually, but maybe we can make it like 15 or 20, because if you got although we can't have it too long, because then people with monitors would have a problem. So but maybe we'll put that in the settings. You can choose, do you want 9, do you want 5, do you want maybe 15 or 20, and that way you have a little ability to choose, which is because I use this a lot, right? Where often I think all of us reopen things. So yes, and also we did make an update here. So the changing of the assigned hotkeys. Now you can see, when you click here, you can see the hotkeys that are assigned. I still don't like, I might have Irfan change this to a list view, because I don't like that these aren't lined up, and it makes it hard to find, what you're looking for. And you can filter up here and search, but it is nice that you can glance now and see them before you had to go to it to find it, and you can assign it. And if the other one's used, it will assign it and stuff. So we made an update to that. And the search replace is coming along. So yeah, that's our editor, which also, this is the thing I love. I can switch. So I have V1 and V2 installed, but I also have a dev version. And right here, I can just select dev, and I can run something in the dev mode. And it would, if I remembered the AutoHotkey variable, I could just do it. Let me see here. Message box. No, I don't want text. AHK version. And see, we have our typing assistant. So now I'm running in dev. Now when I run this, it's a 2.1 alpha. So I think that's really, really cool. I don't have to go change my preference somewhere on what the default version is. I can do it live. And also, by the way, I can select text right here and just say run selected, right? And it will run it. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure what happened there. Let me try this again. Open. Oh, there it was. Maybe I'll have to go watch the video and see if I selected the wrong thing. But we can run things in dev. Or normally I'm just in V2, but sometimes you want to try something new, right? And so it makes it really easy to switch. And if you go under your options, here is where you'd put the path to. Now we do some auto detection, but sometimes you have to put these in here. But we also now let you have a dev version where you put it. And this really could be almost any version. You could have another version of V1 or V2, right? It's not these two. So I think it's really cool to be able to have that functionality in your editor. And something that we'll be bringing to it. So cool. Right now, this is why I have my script killer that kills that editor, because we still haven't tracked it down. But for some reason, if the editor is already running and you go to launch it to pull it up, it will, I don't want to say, it becomes unresponsive. So we're still trying to figure that one out. We were doing stuff, assigning hotkeys, find and replace. So this is all stuff in the editor, in my version of the editor, I should say, because they we all have our own hotkeys, and it's really annoying when someone changes their hotkeys. So I created my own folder, and I just go update it when I want to. So these are just repeated here. We were, Connie had an AutoHotkey string lookup tool. Now, I think ours actually does launch. Yeah, it's running and shows you all of my hot strings. Tells you if some aren't available. This is our version. I think this one, let me see here if I move it out of the way. Yeah, this is the V2 version that isn't quite stable, but it is it's closer to the V1 version. And we can come, yeah, this is a little crazy here. I don't know what's going on with that. But I can choose, I can search, I can filter on hotkeys or hot strings. And I can also say which file do you want to look at. Oh, that didn't work. So like I said, this is the V2. Now we have a stable V1 version. But Connie and some hero members, Neek, had created a V2 version. But it's way more advanced, which you'd think is better. But to me, for people that are noobs that are using this tool, it was just too advanced and complex. And I like keeping things very simple. So we just gave the client our V1 version because they were running V1 anyway. So that worked out well. But yeah, we need at some point to update this V2 version. And we'll probably still update our version. It's just there's some quirks in it to get it to run properly, because it's a great script, because it's really hard to remember all your hotkeys and hot strings, right? So that tool makes it really easy. Let's see, Google Sheets. So finally, and I don't know if I could actually run this. Uh-oh, why would someone do that? Sorry about that little glitch. I opened the example file, and it's one thing they shouldn't. I don't know why anyone did it, but they put the tokens actually in the file, and that's, this is where we're constantly recording our desktop. So the token for my Google Sheets were actually, visible to you guys, which, hey, I trust you, but, you got to have a line. Anyway, we were initially, I thought it was going to be really easy to say, let's use the Google API instead of, because we have clients that are interacting with a Google Sheet. They select text from it and then hit a hotkey and do something or push text into it. And they're using the GUI in a browser or whatever you want to call it to interact with the Google Sheets. And it's, not optimal. So I was like, well, hey, Google Sheets has an API, and, there's examples in the V1. Let's convert it to V2 and do it. Well, all the OAuth stuff, it's all changed, and now it's really complicated. And so both Irfan and Isaiah, I'd say, spent a couple hours working through it. So we will have something we can share to show how to connect to Google Sheets. And I'm just not going to show this now because it's got my tokens right there in the script. But that will be coming, and it's really great when you can avoid trying to automate a GUI or a browser for, oh boy. So this Google Sheet stuff is going to be very cool to be able to do it. And it also is great because if you have something in a Google Sheet, it's if you have it in an Excel file, it gets dated, it gets siloed, especially when you're working with other people and they have copies of it. In the Google Sheet version, it's always live, right? And unlike Excel, where Dropbox might create multiple instances because there's conflicting copies, Google Sheets really doesn't have that issue. So it's going to be a cool thing to be able to have. So yeah, we'll be working on something like that. This tool, sometimes when you record your call with Zoom and then you bring it into a video editor to make some edits, it only has like the left track, and it's really interesting. I looked into it there. I think Zoom's trying to save space, so they record it in mono instead of stereo. And I think there is a setting. I know when you go to share, you can say share in stereo, but I don't know if it would still, I guess the recording would be in stereo for sure then, and maybe I should change maybe there's a preference somewhere. But sometimes, and not always, but sometimes I go bring it into DaVinci Resolve, which is what I use for editing videos, and there's only one track, and I have to go in and do probably like 7 clicks to tell it use the right track from the left track, and it's just kind of annoying. So this script, you just you launch it. I can launch it right now. I'm not going to do it on the video, but you drag in your video, or I'll have to double check and just see if they put extensions in this. But you can drag in your video file here, and it will change it from, I probably want to reword that. It'll convert to mono from stereo. Well, I'm sorry. No, it actually is mono. It's just one side, and we're changing it to use both. So it's not really stereo, but we're putting it on both the left and the right track, if that makes sense. It's just the same audio, so it's not quote unquote stereo, but we'll use the same audio track for both sides. We made a little update to get active path. So in our tool, the AutoHotkey script maker, it will grab the path of the file that you're in, not the actual tool. Let's see, long press. This is the long press detector I was talking about. We we were working on. I don't think it's quite done because we ran into an issue, but that's a cool one to make it easy to detect and press. Apparently, I made a change to my media player. I don't remember that. I do actually know one that I want to change is the order of the menus because I want the exit to be at the bottom, and possibly even let's see, intro to video, preferences, suspend, add suspend. Oh, we're adding back. Well, I guess I could want to suspend the hotkeys, but the exit is just hard to find when you look at it. So I want to change it to where it's more obvious. And you see, it's so hard to find. I can't even. Here we go. Control Shift Escape is exit app, and it's exit. But I want that order to be a little. Well, I think I should still be able to put it, and we shouldn't even have the donate. I don't know why that's there. So, I can't edit in this thing. This is just a view, a scintilla. It's pretty view, but it's not. Not an editor. Message Master, we use this for sending emails, and it's a V1 script, but we were making some updates, and now I can preview the HTML. Get Windows serial number. This is one we just created. I can run it. And I'll probably have to blur that out. I don't think it matters, but you can grab your serial number. And it's a great way to use, like for licensing, you could record it. And then for that install of Windows, it's going to be that, right? So you can check it and use that with your licensing. Window context menu changer. This one, you run it, and you can, if I'm in Explorer, let me bring up Explorer. And if I right-click, I don't know what all these files. See these auto recovery file? This is like Dropbox stuff that I was talking about, the get conflicted files. But if I right-click a file, I have this long menu, right? And I do have an edit. On AutoHotkey files, you want to have, this is an ini file, of course, but you want to have the edit right here. Well, in Windows 11, will make it more concise and there's less stuff. And then you either have to remember to hold either Control or Shift when you right-click or do whatever. Well, this tool that I showed you allows you to switch back and forth. Now, you have to restart Explorer, so I'm not going to do it. But it makes it very easy to just say, hey, you know what? I want the old classic version. And then it's done. Every time you right-click on files, it has that expanded version. So, yeah. And this was an update when I'm in a video, the YouTube Studio. I don't have to scroll to the bottom and tell it to display 50 at a time. You would think that should be something I could change with the URL parameter. Unfortunately, it's not. So Irfan wrote a little script that uses UIA from the browser to change it to 50. I don't have to scroll down to it and click the drop down and expand it. I do a long press of F5 on the browser, and it goes and does it for me when I'm on that page. So, pretty quick call this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any questions. Please, if you learned something here or like this, like the video. It really helps us out, get more views. And consider joining our Hero Club. It's a lot of fun. We really have a lot of fun with our clients and customers and friends. So, have a great day. Cheers.